Todd. And I'm...
And we're Two Kids on a Couch.
The Cost of Living by Martina Majak is a play about lonely people and the way we take care of each other. It centers around 4 characters, 2 with disabilities and the 2 people who, willingly or not, find themselves taking care of them. We're met with Annie and Eddie, a recently divorced couple. Annie has just lost her mobility in a car accident, and her estranged ex-husband Eddie comes back to take care of her. On the other side, we have John, who has cerebral palsy, and Jess, an aide that he is just hiring to help him through daily life. This isn't really a plot-driven show as much as it is character-driven. In it, we are given 4 distinct portraits of humans who have, in one way or another, been dealt a rough hand and have to cope with it. They do this by being bitter, or by making jokes, or by lashing out at others, or by lashing out on themselves. Each is a valid approach and relatable, and it maybe is no surprise that in such a character-driven play, this is a performance-driven production. All 4 members of the cast give stellar performances. They are the reason to see the show, and that might be why acting nut categories make up 3 of this show's 5 nominations, which include Best Play, Best Direction of a Play for Joe Bonney, Best Performance by an Actor in a Featured Role in a Play for David Zayas, Best Performance by an Actress in a Featured Role in a Play for Katie Sullivan, and Best Performance by an Actress in a Featured Role in the Play for Kendra Young. I have to also shout out Greg Marzala, who I love and is the reason I know about this show, and I was so bummed that he's the only one who wasn't nominated. He gives a great performance. He won a Lortel Award for the show in 2018 when he did it off-Broadway, so I think he's got that in the bag. I'm excited to see all the other performers nominated as well. As for if any of them are gonna win, it's kind of hard to say. I think I might give Katie Sullivan my vote. She has also been with the show basically since its inception, performing it, I think they started in Williamstown, and then off-Broadway, and then on Broadway. I think she's also did it in London at one time. She is herself a paraplegic, and gives such a... you gotta look up some videos of the show. Her character of Annie is so like biting and hard in New Jersey, and as is always the best way, right? This venom comes with such pain behind it, and vulnerability. It's so good. Would recommend it. Anyone should go see it. I don't know that David Zayas is my pick for featured actor. His Eddie is personable and fun. Like, just watching the videos of him, he's great. But I don't know that he's gonna win this one with some of the other nominees. Direction, maybe. I think maybe not. I think I mentioned before, I might give my pick to Sahim Ali on Fat Ham, or maybe one of the other directors, but Joe Bonney does a great job at this. Best Play, again, this is Pulitzer Prize winning, but it's going up against a couple of others as well. I don't think it'll win Best Play this year, but I think it is a very good play. I am excited that it finally made it to Broadway, and that we can all learn a little bit more about the cost of living.
Next up in our original place is going to be Leopoldstadt. This is Tom Stoppard's brand new play, and it is breaking box office records over at the Longacre Theater. Leopoldstadt is the story of one Jewish family living in Austria. The story starts in 1899 and travels through generations up into well into the 20th century. So it tells the story of being Jewish during that time, which I don't think I need to say, takes a lot of ups and downs. Due to the generational nature of the show, the cast is massive. There are 38 performers on the set of this show every night, and it is an epic 3.5-hour journey of this family's life and resiliency in a very difficult time. Leopoldstadt got 6 nominations this year, including Best Performance by an Actor in a Featured Role in a Play for Brendan Uranowitz, Best Scenic Design of a Play for Richard Hudson, Best Costume Design of a Play for Bridget Reifenstruhl, Best Lighting Design of a Play for Neil Austin, Best Direction of a Play for Patrick Marber, and Best Play. Let's talk about that. If you had asked me 8 months ago what show I thought was going to win every single play-related award at the Tonys, it would have hands down been Leopoldstadt. As soon as this show opened, it has received absolutely rave reviews. It has broken box office records at the Long Acre Theater where it's currently running, and it has been extended and extended and extended in its run. It's a great show put on by great people. It's also Tom Stoppard, who, I'll say it, does pretty good work. That being said, since this production opened in October, some truly wonderful plays have opened in competition. I think if the show wins anything, it's going to win everything, which is not super helpful, but let's go one by one. It's tough to make faces read in a big Broadway theater when supposedly these characters only have candlelight, and sometimes literally only have candlelight, and Neil Austin did a great job with that. The lighting isn't like, whoa, but you can see everyone. In terms of scenic, it's not my favorite set of the year. Does good work, I don't know. Of the 3 production awards, scenic, lighting, and costume, I don't really feel strongly about Leopoldstadt winning any of them, but of course, if I said what I've said it 1,000 times, wouldn't be mad. In terms of best direction, I think this show will win best direction. It's a brilliantly told story, and it's kind of a beast, but it doesn't feel like a beast, and I think it has to come down to the direction of it. So I think Patrick Marber should win. The 2 most hotly contested awards that this show is nominated for this season are Best Performance by a Featured Actor and also Best Original Play. And I think it's tight. Oh, God, this is sure so hard. I do not want... I think in any other year, Leopoldstadt would have easily taken Best Play and Best Featured Actor. Brandon Uranowitz does phenomenal work, is really like, kind of one of the cornerstones of this family, of this show. He's my favorite person who's nominated. He's not my favorite to win, and I don't think he will. As for Best Play, I think Leopoldstadt's probably gonna win. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I think it's a great show. I think it's an important show given the times, and I think it appeals to the demographic that makes up the majority of the Tony voters. Do I think it should win? Asterisk. But I think it will. And I think that's...
That Ham by James Imes is a modern retelling of Hamlet. Kind of. I mean, it does follow the same general structure. It's about a young man who sees the ghost of his father, who says, your uncle, who's now marrying your mom, had to be killed, you should kill him. All of that tracks. The part that diverges a little bit, not to spoil anything, is this Hamlet isn't quite as bent on revenge and as hard as the one that we've come to know. Juicy, the character that takes the Hamlet role in this case, is a soft person and proud of that. He is a large black queer man who doesn't want to hurt people and doesn't know if killing even this new stepfather uncle that he doesn't necessarily love is what he wants to do. The rest of the show takes place about as you'd expect. We have our Ophelia character, our Laertes, our Polonius all come to this big backyard barbecue in North Carolina as we see how Juicy is going to enact the revenge his father asks of him. I actually almost saw Fat Ham when it premiered in 2020. It was produced originally by the Wilma Theater Company out of Philadelphia, I think. And they were doing an interesting thing in the pandemic in which they would quarantine their actors, make their little bubble, and then just film in an outdoor setting things that were written to be plays. I saw one of their other shows, Heroes of the Fourth Turning. It was great. And the next show they produced was Fat Ham, and I could have watched it, but I didn't. Little did I know it went on to go to Off-Broadway and now Broadway, where it was nominated for 5 Tony Awards, including Best Play, Best Performance by an Actress in a Featured Role in a Play, Nikki Crawford, Best Direction of a Play by Saheem Ali, Best Costume Design of a Play by Dominique Fawn Hill, and Best Lighting Design of a Play for Bradley King. I'll be honest, I was a little bit surprised Nikki Crawford was nominated, all the reviews I read was speaking of the other featured actress who plays the Polonius character instead of the Gertrude character like she does. I'm sure she's great. I'm sure she's very, very good. The clips I've been able to see, she's been great, but I don't necessarily think she will win Best Supporting Actress in a play. The design categories are a possibility in most seasons. The little things I've seen, the set and the lighting look super neat. Costumes seem kind of whatever. I don't know that it's a big costume show. Good, right? Character driving, but not necessarily stellar. I think, and maybe this is me putting too many eggs in one basket, it's hard for me to see how Life of Pi doesn't just sweep a lot of the design awards, because it's a spectacle. I think it's got a shot at direction. This show is just really well crafted. Everyone agrees that it is pretty well put together. The design, the performances, the storytelling. It's a tricky blend of comedy and tragedy. Sahimali does an excellent job. So while I don't know that I'll say he'll definitely win, he might be my favorite for Best Direction. As for Best Play, it's kind of tricky. A part of me says, of course it'll win Best Play. It won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 2022. But then you remember that Cost of Living won the Pulitzer in 2018, and Between Riverside and Crazy won the Pulitzer in 2015. And honestly, I was kind of expecting Ain't No Mo to get nominated, if not win, in 2023. It's a stacked category. It's a lot of good shows this year that do a lot of things well, tell really important stories, bring to light people and characters that we don't see represented as often as we should, and I think that's a wonderful and amazing thing. All that being said, I think Fat Ham might actually be my pick to win Best Play. Of all the plays nominated, it received a healthy number of nominations, it had a healthy run, it is still running, and one of the few of which that is true. And I don't know, I think it is what Broadway's supposed to do, right? I think it's a unique voice telling a classic story, so it gets the contemporary folks and the classic folks. I think it was nominated in the design and performance and creative categories. Again, not all the nominees did that. I think it's just a well-rounded, great show. And yeah, I might say it's my pick to win Best Play of 2023. We'll see though.
Let's talk about Ain't No Mo. Despite only running on Broadway for a little over a month, Ain't No Mo is one of the most highly anticipated shows to come out this season. So Ain't No Mo had a sold-out run at the Public Theater in the 2019-2020 season. The critics loved it, the audiences loved it. It was going to be like the next big Broadway thing. However, as you might be aware, the 2020 season for Broadway looked a little bit different as the industry was completely shut down due to the COVID pandemic. Unfortunately, what this meant for Ain't No Mo was that instead of going from one sold-out run, having a lot of hype, having a lot of accolades, having a lot of momentum straight to Broadway, instead there was a giant, almost 3-year gap in between closing at the public and opening on Broadway. Unfortunately, this almost 3-year gap really hurt Ain't No Mo's ticket sales. The show still closed just before Christmas in 2022. The premise of the show is that every Black person in America is offered a one-way ticket back to Africa. The show is a series of vignettes detailing how people take this news. You have people who are biracial, confused if they should stay or if they should go. You have Black people who have amassed a lot of wealth and a lot of power who are reluctant to give that up just to go back to a country they've never been from. It is a searing indictment of the Black experience in America and what white supremacy has made it out to be. It is a dark comedy, emphasis on dark and also kind of emphasis on comedy. The show is very, very fun, so the moments when it really punches you in the stomach kind of sneak up on you, which makes it all that more effective. Ain't No Mo got 6 Tony nominations this year for Best Performance by an Actor in a Featured Role in a Play for Jordan E. Cooper, Best Performance by an Actress in a Featured Role in a Play for Crystal Lucas Perry, Best Costume Design of a Play for Emilio Souza, Best Sound Design of a Play for Jonathan Deans and Taylor Williams, Best Sound Design of a Play for Jonathan Dean and Taylor Williams, Best Direction of a Play for Stevie Walker-Webb, and Best Original Play. Let's break it down. Starting again with the design awards, this is sound design and costume design of a play. It's an ensemble-based show with only one actor playing the same character more than once. The costume designer did a really great job to tell the story. Again, when it comes to design, I think the show that wins all of them will win these. Costume design and sound design both did a great job in telling the story. Neither of them were like slap you in the face, like I didn't leave the theater going, oh my god, the sound design, or oh my god, the costumes, but I never do. I'm an idiot. Truthfully, I think it's the most likely that costume Truthfully, I think it's most likely that costume design and sound design will go to either Leopoldstadt or one of the revivals this year. I don't know that Ain't No Mo really has like a dog in that particular fight. I don't know that Ain't No Mo really has like a specific leg up on those. In terms of best direction of a play, this one's gonna be, like a lot of play awards this season, it's gonna be a toss-up between Leopoldstadt and Ain't No Mo. I think the director for Leopoldstadt had a slightly taller order to pull off in terms of managing a cast and making a story compelling. However, I think Stevie Walker-Webb also had their work cut out for them, given the subject matter of this show and the audience that they knew they'd be performing it for. Who's to say? For Crystal Lucas Perry, it's tough because, again, the show is so ensemble heavy, and because every actor has a different character in every single vignette, it's hard to have a through line, and I think a reliable through line and a definable arc is the stuff that Tony Awards are made on. And so for that reason alone, I don't think Crystal Lucas Perry is going to take home a Tony Award this season, and I'm glad that she was nominated. The two awards that the show is most likely to win, and that I want very much for this show to win, is Best Original Play and Best Performance by an Actor in a Featured Role. Both of these awards are for Jordan E. Cooper, who is the youngest playwright ever to be on Broadway. Jordan E. Cooper was 23 years old when this show opened, and had the pandemic not derailed the original plan, he would have been even younger. That's insane. Jordan E. Cooper is the only actor in the show who plays the same character more than once. Throughout the vignettes, the kind of bumper is a flight attendant who is in charge of loading the planes back to Africa, including the very last plane to take off. Jordan E. Cooper's performance is very over the top, very bizarre, full of so much culture and richness. He is the only character who is able to kind of take an arc because he's the only character we see more than once. And while at first it seems like a very like plucky comic relief kind of spacer in between some of the heavier scenes, you find out that like this flight attendant carries the entire weight of Black culture on their shoulders. Jordan E. Cooper does this brilliantly, and to me it feels like a no-brainer that he should win this award. And the same can be said of Ain't No Mo. It is a phenomenal show with a phenomenal message done very well. It makes you think about what experiences you contribute to, kind of regardless of where you are in this web of like systemic oppression. It's an important show, it's a good show, it's a show that should have had a longer life on Broadway, but seeing as it didn't, I feel like it's the least the American theater wing to do to give it as much praise as it can at the Tony Awards.
Between Riverside and Crazy is a play that, like many of Stephen Adley Gurgis's plays, is essentially about gentrification and the people that it leaves behind. It follows Pops, a retired and recently widowed police officer who fights with his son Junior, recently paroled, to save their apartment, one of the last great rent-controlled apartments on Riverside Drive. It's a play about grief and about working with the family you have. Like many of Stephen Adley Gurgis's plays, it is vulgar and it is real, and it's tackling topics that I think are really relevant right now, as things like police brutality and inflation are on top of everyone's minds. I think it's an important play, a good play to be coming to Broadway this season. Between Riverside and Crazy only got 2 nominations this year, for Best Play and for Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role for Stephen McKinley Henderson, who plays Pops, just as he did in the 2015 run at the Atlantic Theater when the show won its Pulitzer. I don't think either of them will necessarily win, either Stephen or the play, but I think that's fine. I think it's not because they're not great, it's because it's a tough category. I think they both did some great work, both the play and the actor. I'm glad they were seen on Broadway, and glad more people got to take in that performance and that show. I've not gotten to see or read this play specifically, but I've read a lot of other Stephen Adley Gurgis's work, and he does have a unique poetry to him. It's a lot of foul language, but it's a lot of poetry, and I'm always excited to be introduced to more of his work, and so I'm glad this got to have the audience that it did.